UFC 299 is done. It was a pretty good card. It had a lull in the middle of it that made me a little bit worried. Put a lot of pressure on the main card, but they got it done. It was pretty good towards the end. So Monday morning matchup. So keep in mind that we are recording this on Monday morning. That doesn't necessarily mean that it'll always be out on Monday morning, but we're recording this on Monday morning, and there's a few matchups that came out of that fight out of the previous week that were intriguing to me. So I'm going to throw those out there. And as usual, I would love to hear what you have to say about it. Throw how you feel or matchups that you think should occur down in the comments, and we'll have a conversation about it, I'm sure. So without further ado, let me jump into some of the matchups that came up for me. So the first one, this came out of the Song Yadong Peter Yan fight, which I think was a really good fight. Song Yadong looked really good at the beginning of that fight, and then started to taper off. And Peter Yan, as he does, collects data and starts to ramp things up as the fight goes along. But in losing that fight, I'm still not low on Song Yadong. And I think that there's a fight that would help keep his name at the top of the bantamweight division. And that's a rematch of Song Yadong versus Marlon Chito Vera. They fought previously. I think that this fight being probably about an additional 4 years from the previous fight, I think that this fight would be a totally new fight. And unfortunately for Chito, it would be a rematch again, but hopefully he does better in this rematch than he did against Sugar Sean. But I think that this would be a good matchup for both of them. It'll keep them fresh in front of us. And I think this could easily headline a fight night card or, be on the main card of a pay-per-view for sure. And whoever wins, it kind of gives them an emergency title boost, if you will. So say Song Yadong wins this fight and he wins it impressively, then, that puts his name right back at the top of the division. And if Chito wins the fight, then it'll keep him relevant as well. I mean, with Sean being the champion, Chito fighting for the belt anytime soon is a bit of a long shot, but it'll keep him interesting. So I think that would be a good fight. Another good fight that came out of this, Jack Della Maddalena got it done against Gilbert Burns. I don't know how you guys were scoring the fight, but I did think that if Gilbert would have hung on in that position towards the end of the fight, it would have made it interesting going to the judges. So Jack kept it out of that situation, got it done with that knee, and it takes him to a different level. And he called out Shavkat Rakhmonov after the fight, and nobody calls out Shavkat. So I say give Jack what he wants. Have him fight Shavkat Rakhmonov in a clear number one contender fight. Whoever wins that is undeniable as a number one contender. We already have an undeniable number one contender. Whether everybody likes it or not, Bilal Muhammad is an undeniable number one contender, and he should be fighting Leon Edwards whenever that fight is announced for the belt. But I think that Shavkat and now Jack Della Maddalena have something to say about who would fight the winner of that particular fight. And so I think that this would be the perfect match to clear that situation up. We already, then we'll already know who's next in line. So that's a no-brainer to me. The next one that comes up to me is MVP versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. This is another no-brainer fight. This is a stylistic matchup that Wonderboy probably never really saw coming, fighting somebody who has a very similar style than that he does. Now, MVP is a little bit more flashy. He adds more charisma to the way that he fights, but their fighting style is very similar. And that really froze Kevin Holland in that fight. And I think that him against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson would be an interesting chess match. Oddly, it's kind of age appropriate because Wonderboy's 40 and MVP is trending towards that age range. I think he's 36, but even though he doesn't look slow by any means, and actually neither does Wonderboy. So I think that this would be a nice stylistic fight, very entertaining for the fans. But It will also identify, is MVP ready to fight that upper echelon? It is something that he said that he kind of wanted to slow play a little bit. He wanted to kind of walk his way up to a title shot rather than sprint towards a title shot. But reality, like I said, he's 36. We don't know how long he's going to be at this level. So let's not, mess around and miss our opportunity. Have him fight somebody like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, get that bump, win that fight, and then he's probably one fight away from a title shot. The next one, and I should have had my Dustin Poirier hat on for this one, but I got Dustin Poirier fighting for the belt, fighting Islam Makhachev in June, which is what Islam wants. And there's a variety of reasons why. Yes, I'm a Dustin Poirier fan. I've said that on multiple occasions. He's my favorite fighter in the division or in the sport right now, favorite active fighter. But it's outside of that. The reason that I say Dustin Poirier is because the timelines match up. So it's more so on what Islam wants to do. Islam is tired of waiting. He hasn't fought in quite a while. And so he wants to fight after Ramadan. Ramadan ends in April, I believe. And so he can have a full camp. And fighting in June is what he prefers. Let's give him somebody that's ready. Yes, you could throw Gamrot in there if you wanted to, but in the interest of it being a fight that's a little bit more exciting and something that will really enhance Islam's resume, which I know that's what he's looking at, is his legacy. Beating Dustin Poirier is something that will definitely boost his resume. And he's trending towards being one of, if not the lightweight GOAT. And I know that's blasphemy for anybody to say that, but I mean, it's still ongoing and he's going that direction. So Dustin Poirier will be a good person to add to that list. But on Dustin's side, a lot of people were talking about retirement leading up to this fight. And I didn't think that was necessarily fair to say, because he hasn't necessarily shown. Yes, he got knocked out by Justin Gaethje, but a lot of people got knocked out by Justin Gaethje. And I don't think that he was losing a step or showing that he was losing a step. And in this fight with Benoit Saint-Denis, he weathered that storm and was able to get him out of there in 2. So he's clearly not losing a step, and he's clearly elite. And this would be a great matchup from a time perspective and also for a legacy perspective for both men. This will give Dustin that crack at the belt that he feels would complete his career. So I say get it done, and whoever wins that fight, it's going to still be great for the lightweight division. So easy matchup to make. The last one, and this is probably the most obvious one, is Sugar Sean O'Malley should be fighting Merab Dvalishvili following this fight. I know that he called for Illia Topuria, and even he said in his post-fight press conference and the speech that when he called for that fight, people weren't necessarily fully on board for that fight, and with reason, because that was his first title defense. Illia hasn't defended the title at this point. There's a lot of other matchups that can be made within their divisions, and I think that they know that. But Sean wanting to, or Ever the businessman, wanted to capitalize on the moment, capitalize on the peak of their star powers, at least to this point. And I understand him calling for that fight. But Merab is a very worthy and probably the best number one contender we have in the sport right now. The most clear-cut, outside of maybe an argument with Bilal being the number one clear-cut in that division. But Merab has done everything that he can to fight for the belt. He deserves it. I think that they should get it done. And I think it'll be a pretty big fight. This fight against Cheeto, Dana said, was the biggest fight in bantamweight title division. And I think that the Merab one would trend that same direction because of the steam that Merab has got from all of the social media things that he's done. He's very entertaining when it comes to that sort of thing. So I think this is the obvious fight to make. And beating Merab would really just elevate Sean even more. He likes to compare himself to Conor McGregor quite a bit. And I don't know if he gets to that. I don't know if anybody gets to that level of stardom, of popularity. But when it comes to his resume, he's starting to put things together that Conor has not put together, and that's a title defense. So, with saying that, those are the fights that I think I want to see for these fighters coming up. But let me know what you want to see. Let me know your thoughts on those fights. And as always, until next time.